This is 2.2. This is about point slope form. We're talking about equations of lines. And last section we talked about slope intercept form. This is just a different form of how to write the equation. So this is called point slope because it involves a point and it involves the slope. The other one was called slope intercept because it involved the slope and the y-intercept. So this form, point slope, we don't need to know the y-intercept. All we need to do is to follow this, this equation, y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. That's all we need to do is follow that. And I actually highlighted it, or didn't, I changed the colors of the x1, y1, because that's it. If you have a point, you put them in, you put this, the point in right there, and then this is the m, and that's your slope. So let's look at an example. Because all you really have to do is follow the example, the formula that they have laid out. So they give us a point. So we're looking for a line. So imagine if I graph this line starting at that point, if I started at negative 4, 2, and then I went to, I went up 3 over 2. So that's really what I'm looking for. So just to visualize it, so if I went to negative 4, 2, so if I went to negative 4, 2, and then the slope is 3/2. So if you went up 3 over 2, up 3 over 2, up 3 over 2. Okay, so the equation we're trying to find an equation to that line. That's what we're really trying to do, all right? But we want it in point slope form, not slope intercept. So just literally follow that equation. So y minus, and then the formula says y sub 1. Remember, a point is made up of xy, so you're going to put 2 equals, and then it says m, so we're going to put the m, it's 3/2, parentheses, x minus, and then it says x1, so we're going to put the x1 there. And of course, we always want to simplify, so the minus here actually simplifies to a positive. So we're going to change that to a positive sign. And right there is my answer. That's it. That you just follow the form, point slope form. It's called point slope. So as long as I have a point, as long as I have slope, then you can write point slope form. All right, so here's another example. Write an equation of a line that passes through negative 4, 1 and 2, 3. And I should have written in the instructions, write the equation of a line in point slope form. This lesson is about point slope form, so it really should say write the equation of a line in point slope form. So to do point slope form, remember the formula is this. So first we need to find the slope. Well, remember how to find the slope of 2 points. You're going to follow this little formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And remember, this is your x, that's your y, that's your x, that's your y. So y2 minus y1, that's over x2 minus x1. So we're going to get 4 over 6, 2 over 6. And then we're going to reduce that to 1/3. So the slope is 1/3. And remember, the formula says that, and all we're going to do is substitute in one of those 2 points. It does not make a difference which one. So let me do this. If you chose the first point, let's say we're choosing this point, then the x is negative 4, so you're going to put negative 4 right there where the x is. See, right there, I'm going to put negative 4, and then y is 1. And of course, that means plus right there. So if you chose this point, this would be your answer. If you chose this point, x is 2, so you're going to put 2 right there, and y is 3, then this would be the equation. Now, believe it or not, it may not look like it, but these two equations, this equation and that equation, they look totally different, but they're actually the same equation. If you graph this first equation, then you graph this equation, they would actually be the exact same equation, exact same line. And they literally are the same thing. Because remember, you're trying to find an equation of a line that passes through both points. It passes through both points. So either one of these equations is correct. Again, first find the slope, and then substitute in one of those 2 points, and either equation is correct. So let's look at how to graph. How do I graph using point slope form? So I kind of already went over this already. You have a slope of -2/3. It's right there. So the slope is -2/3. Now the point, this is something you got to really pay attention on point slope. Remember the equation says y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. That's what the equation says. So to find the x part of the point, you literally look right here. And the formula says x minus x1. So that this is actually, even though it says +1, that's actually a -1 right there. And the same thing, this says y minus y1, or y minus y1. So this is actually a 3 there. So one way to easily look at it, it's always the opposite sign of what it says because of the formula. Now, so once you recognize that, once you recognize -1, 3, so you go to -1, 3, and you get your point. Once you find that point, you just follow the slope from that point. So go down 2 spaces, over 3 spaces, put another point. Down 2, over 3, down 2, over 3. And then you can connect those dots to make your line. All right, so that's how you would, to be able to graph that. And one way you could always check these on a calculator or something like that if you wanted to be able to do that, and that's fine. But again, you just have to make sure you you have to make sure you recognize that point, -1, 3. So make sure you look at that and understand why it's a -1 and why it's a +3 on that. Now on this next example, what we're going to do is we're going to graph this one as well. And then I want to show you a way to check this as well, to make sure you understand how to do this. So if I had to graph this, remember the point, again, this says x minus 2, so the x part is +2. This says +3, so the y part is -3. And then the slope, you can see, is right there, m is 2, or 2 over 1. So you're going to go to 2, -3, put your point. And then from that point, you're going to go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. And then you're going to connect the dots to be able to get your line. So you're going to graph this, and the graph looks like that. Now, one way to check this, just as a quick reminder, if I had this equation, and if I chose to use the distributive property, this is one way to check this. If you -3, basically we're going to solve for y equals mx plus b. Notice I get y equals 2x minus 7. Well, notice this is your y-intercept, and it's right there at -7. That's your y-intercept. And then you can see the slope is up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. So you can easily check it by putting it into y equals mx plus b form as well. And then the third way you can double check it is grab your calculator. If you grab your calculator, you can plug in y equals 2x minus 7. And you can graph it to see the graph. You can go to the table and look for the points that we were looking for that are that's on there. The point 2, -3 is on there, so 2, -3 is on there. So you can check it. There's several ways to check it to do this. But again, y equals mx plus b. Most of you guys are familiar with that, and you can easily do it by just using the distributed property.